But anyway, welcome to ReGen D&D Rewind. Where a couple of us nerdy-ass ReGen boys talk about D&D while we play random games.
I guess StarCraft's on the menu tonight.
Yeah, we got StarCraft 2 co-op while Grendel and I reflect on our first ReGen D&D experience from last Tuesday night. It feels like it was both weeks ago and yet just yesterday, Grendel. I don't know. It's a weird phenomenon.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I actually haven't gotten to play in the D&D game for a little while. It feels really, really good, but it's always been, for me, like, as soon as it's over, I want to play the next game, like, the next day.
Right. Yeah, and that's the reality, is I would love to play, just play this over and over with you guys all week long. However, I know that a lot of our guys have, families and, busy lives going on, and so at least Andrew and Mongoose do. I don't know about Goose too. Jeremy, I guess is what we're. I don't know.
Oh yeah, Jeremy.
Emin.
Yeah, that guy. The rogue that rolls 5 forever. Poor guy.
Yeah, the 5 rogue. Now I know he'll have his day, but it was a lot of fun. But yeah, I just can't wait. I can't wait for Tuesday. I now completely understand why the going out phrase for Critical Role is it Thursday yet?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because that's just what they're looking forward to. So now the true test is how much can I focus on StarCraft co-op while we're playing, or while we're talking about D&D.
That's a fair point. I've kind of been thinking about that myself. It'll be alright.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, I'm sure a lot of people out there are thinking, okay, cool, we get to see Jay and Grendel, talk about D&D. But if you're gonna do the reaction show, why aren't we seeing Mongoose here on the first episode? And I decided that purely because you're obviously the MVP of the first real combat against those bandits.
Know about that.
Well, not only did you, I think, kill the most of them and really deal out a shit ton of damage, but also you came up with the token catchphrase to send us out of our game number 1.
I kind of wasn't happy with it. I said it and I was like, that was lame.
No, I liked it. I liked it a lot, and that's why it's the title of the first episode on YouTube.
Oh, all right. I don't even remember what I said, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it's that. Take the what was it? Take the safer deal, friend. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was well done.
Yeah, my character was pretty salty with the bandits there.
Yeah, I could tell. You wanted to chase them down and kill them all, but nah. You had to settle for just getting about half of them. Which, by the way, I don't think that we actually got. I don't know. We'll have to obviously check out what happened because we didn't really have any time to assess the carnage that we had wrought there. But I don't think we got. We definitely didn't get the leader, and I don't think we got any of the guys that had the loot bags.
We'll have to see about the loot bags, but I'm positive we didn't get the leader.
Yeah. So, a little bit of disappointment there, potential disappointment when we come back on Tuesday, but the other disappointment I realized was, as much as I'm like, oh cool, we killed our first set of people, in these bandits, maybe we'll get loot, and it's like, nah, but any loot that they have is probably going to be stolen. We're probably going to have to give it back to the people at the caravan, so it's like, how exciting is that really?
Well, that and
that was dumb.
They at least said that they were impoverished bandits because of the war effort, and we'll see whether they actually were or not, but I'm wagering they probably were.
Man, I have nothing for this first wave.
It's okay, I'm Tychus.
Yeah, you're Tychus. You got something. That works out. So I'll tell you what, I was pretty sure that I knew exactly what I wanted to do with my build and everything as I build my barbarian. But then, thanks to Ford, well, okay, spoilers. Anybody who is watching Critical Role, you might want to close your ears for the next, I don't know, maybe 10 seconds. But thanks to Ford this week, I discovered what multiclassing is.
So multiclassing is an interesting thing, and it was a lot more prevalent in older editions of D&D.
Right.
It's still a thing you can do, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, and can be very powerful.
Yeah.
But for you can also, if you're not careful, end up inhibiting yourself.
Right, and I can understand the idea of not being as powerful, but I'm kind of looking, past level 5 is really what I'm looking at, and realistically, like, there's not going to be a whole lot. I mean, it's going to be a long time before we get past that point of level 5. We're talking, months from now, as it is, but I've got really cool, really strong upgrades up to that point, but then after that, it really feels like it falls out quite a lot for barbarian upgrades.
I actually don't have enough experience with barbarian. That's kind of never been my go-to to really tell you that one way or another. Sometimes the things that you think aren't going to be that strong, though, can be sneakily very powerful.
Right. And that makes sense. So what I was looking at was possibly getting to level 5 as a barbarian, and then leveling up a few things as fighter, because it gives you the first of all, it gives you the stance that you get to gain from that, which I think is pretty strong. Whether I'm doing one-handed and I go I'm having trouble remembering the names, but I think it's dueling, where you get a +2 damage on your one-handed attacks, as long as you're not using another one-hander, which of course I'm using a shield. And then, or if I decide to go two-hand, there's one where you get to re-roll any one or two rolls that you get from your two-handed weapon.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of the same thing as the trait Savage Attacks, where if you want to, once per turn you can re-roll dice, but it just, it lets you re-roll the ones that you're obviously going to want to re-roll, which is when you get a 1 or 2, and it lets you do that anytime. Like if I get a crit and I end up getting to roll 3 dice because of my Savage Attacks thing on my half orc trait. Any of those that come out as 1s or 2s, I can just re-roll automatically.
Right.
So
that's pretty potent.
But then also they get, fighters are crazy, especially if paired with some of the rage mechanics and stuff. But they get, ouch, this guy's kind of hurt. They get Action Surge, which is pretty ridiculous in and of itself. Now, what else do they get? It isn't totally impossible to get that, to get the bonus objectives on this map, by the way.
It feels like it is.
And my economy is terrible because I'm trying to talk too much. You should talk a little bit, Grendel. No.
So, one of the things that I find kind of interesting, character-wise, about your barbarian, is that most, like, the standard barbarian archetype is kind of almost like a wild, crazy person who has an axe and murders a bunch of people, and maybe not the smartest, maybe kind of almost feral, but
Right.
Your barbarian I find interesting because he's kind of a bit more of like a gentleman, really.
Yeah. Yeah, and a little bit more protection based, so far, at least in the story. We'll see where it goes, because I'm actually as I'm thinking about building this this fighter idea, I kind of wish I had the two-handed, because I could have started with a great axe, and so instead of doing the warhammer, so I think that would have been a cool, different way to go. But oh god, I don't have these out on my refineries. No. Well, here you go. Here's a bunch of extra gas.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite things about the fighter, though, is when you get to level 3, you can choose to go champion, and then any of the crits that you get, or any of 19s or 20s, count as crits.
Yeah,
so,
it widens your crit range. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and with double attacks, with the rage bonus, with +6 to attacks in general, and the way I'm going to build him kind of like a mobile, where I can get a lot of movement in between those attacks. I think that's going to be a really strong combo. Whereas, like, normally leveling up to like level 9, it's just not very strong. I don't feel like for barbarian. Like past level 5, it just feels like those spikes are just not there in improving how they play.
Yeah, like I said, haven't played enough barbarian to really know, but I know that fighters historically, like in Pathfinder to a lesser extent, but a bit, and in 3.5 D&D, fighters are super strong for like the first probably 8 to 10 levels, and then they fall off super hard. And I think they've addressed a lot of that with 5e, which is really nice. Because it used to be that the strongest class in the game, hands down, in old D&D was for sure wizards. Like
Right.
Wizards and actually clerics. Clerics were really strong too. And clerics, I think, are still pretty strong. This is actually my first cleric I've ever played, and Goose actually let me get away with some things that I really appreciate. Oh man, Blaze died. So my cleric, you might have noticed, and some of the other people might have noticed, that when I use my necromancy spells, I'm hitting 2 people who are within 5 feet of each other, and that is a trait specifically to death clerics.
Right.
So my cleric is a cleric of death, and he's a bit different because he's not an evil cleric. Most clerics of death you would associate with it being an evil character.
Right.
Base is getting attacked. I'm gonna go dip and take care of that.
Alrighty. Well, we got that. And the warp prism is suiciding again, and there's no way I'm going to be able to fix that, so... Bye, evacuation ship. Good luck.
Okay. Base is okay. Got Blaze back. Alright.
Yeah, I mean, look at this thing. It just instantly suicides into something that we are just completely not ready for. Oh, what? Oh, hi.
Odin! Get him!
Right. Yeah.
Odin's gonna die, I think. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Oh, well, I don't know.
Well, I mean, the evacuation ship's already dead, so...
It was never about the evacuation ship.
It never is. It's the principle.
Yeah, Odin's fine. Odin's fine.
So anyway... So I discover multi-classing, right? I had already had my all my plans on exactly what I wanted to do. And I discover multi-classing, and suddenly I'm like, no, wait, there's all this cool stuff I can try. Let's...
None of your plans are the same anymore.
Right. And I'm looking through all the different classes. Like, what can pair with a barbarian? Because when I'm raging, I can't use any spells. I'm not allowed to cast spells. So it's almost pointless to look at anything that has spells. I even threw paladins right out the window the first look through. But then I discovered the concept of Holy Smite, and that you can utilize your spell slots to add a 2d8 to any of your melee attacks, and that doesn't count as casting a spell. So I could still use that to kind of like eat up the spell slots even while I'm raging.
Right. And what else is pretty cool?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I love using the big laser.
Yeah.
What else is really cool about your particular character is you rolled so damn good on everything that you can be whatever the hell you want to be.
Sure. Yeah, the only prerequisite check that I did not make high enough for is intellect at level 12, so I can't dual spec into a wizard. But, you know, that's one of those ones that even if I could, I really wouldn't be interested in doing, so.
Well, right, it would gimp your barbarian if you did it.
Right. So, but anyway, yeah, so I think that one of the coolest things about the Paladin Holy Smite is that you don't actually choose to apply the Holy Smite until after you've confirmed that you've got a hit. And I can even, like, if we're going into a boss fight scenario, I can even look to wait until I get a crit. And again, as a fighter at level 3, at that point already, I would have a crit on a 19 or a 20. And then I can apply the Holy Smite with it, and the Holy Smite would also get double the dice.
Yeah, that's pretty huge.
It wouldn't get triple the dice from my passive, because those are only on melee weapon damage, but still, that's triple the melee weapon damage, and then double of the Holy Smite damage on a crit.
Yeah, that's pretty gross. And
I mean, you would only use that obviously against bosses, because that would be massive overkill to anything that was not a boss.
Well, I suppose it depends on what you're fighting and what you consider it to be a boss.
Right, and also by then we're looking at, you know, like, God, I'm so far behind on supply. You know, we're looking at like level 10 or 11 by the time I'm making those decisions.
Sure. And the Critical Role guys actually just hit that level.
Right, and it's what,
so it's a ways off.
They're what, 2 years in at this point?
It's a ways, but I mean, it depends on each individual campaign too, because maybe you're not looking to run as long of a campaign as they are.
Right.
That's the kind of beautiful thing about D&D is you can make it what you want it to be.
Right. God, I love that ability.
I'm trying to come to help.
Ooh, I just got completely whomped over here.
It's okay, the A-team's coming.
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, you lost your...
Yeah. Where is that A-team?
It's here.
That's a little late.
Right in time. Love it when a plan comes together. It's fine.
Fine. Well, we're just gonna have to get by on the meager amount that I have now, and because I'm not building another supplemental base, that ain't happening. By the way, I think we gotta play this on normal difficulty while we're chatting about D&D.
That's fine. We're still gonna win. This is like one of the most annoying missions too. Anyway.
It really is. You are not lying about that.
So, what are you looking forward to most? What are the things you're excited about?
I mean, leveling up and getting to build our characters further, obviously, but a big part of it for me is getting to do the RP with people. You know, I feel like I didn't do very much of that in the first game because, you know, quite honestly, like, we are a bunch of not just people, but also in particular characters that don't really know each other yet and haven't really gotten to have any interactions together at all. And it was also, you know, a lot of the first episode, if you will, The first session is establishing our characters coming together.
Sure.
And so yeah, I'm looking forward to getting past that stage and getting to play, another session or two after we've really got our bearings under us.
Well, and there's whenever you're first getting started on a campaign, there can be some adjustment period.
Right. All right, I'm all inning on the crystal.
Oh yeah, that thing's toast.
Concentrated beam online.
Nope. You're late, laser.
We did the thing.
GG.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm really looking forward to developing my character and seeing it do really good in battle, but also the RP aspect and getting to get our characters really knowing each other, and the sweet loots, of course.
If I remember right, in our last game, you kind of smashed a guy's head, so he doesn't have a neck anymore. It's like his head moved into his chest.
Yeah, it completely crumpled, I think was the way that Goose put that. Level 14, by the way, just by a hair. I had 900 extra XP. Feels good, man. Usually I'm on the other end of that.
Hey, I leveled up too.
Nice. Let's see, what did I get? 6 instead of 4 for my Warbot drops. Nice. That's a good upgrade.
Oh yeah, that's a really good upgrade.
Increases the life of Swan's SCVs, vehicles, and starships by 20%. Nice.
I got a new outlaw.
That's a nice upgrade, but it's not like a game-changing upgrade. I feel like a lot of level 15s are like game changers. An extra 20% life on most of your stuff is kind of, it's
That's
good.
on all your stuff.
Yeah, it's good, but it's like it's not helping you for the first 80% of their life, right?
I don't know. I felt like once I got that on Swan, it actually helped a lot. My army became really hard to kill because you get the science vessels.
So a lot of what I've been talking about the last day or two, the last day really, since I discovered multi-classing, was kind of the ups and downs, like the pros and cons. And
sure.
A lot of people are like, well, you don't get to develop your barbarian as much. I'm like, yeah, but really, what do I get extra late game for barbarian? Their rage gets a little bit more versatile, like you get more charges, and you become harder to kill, but I'm already kind of hard to kill. Your proficiency bonus, which this is kind of the nice thing about multi-classing, your proficiency bonus stays based on your total player level. So that doesn't get hurt at all by multi-classing.
And there used to be aspects to 3.5, for instance. This is probably still the case for Rogue, but if you multi-classed, you were Rogue and you multi-classed out of Rogue, any of the levels that you took in whatever other class you were building meant that you did not get those sneak attack dice for your Rogue. So when you would sneak up on someone and deal a bunch of damage, you wouldn't get as many d6, which always felt kind of bad to me.
Right.
And I played mostly Rogue, so I didn't multi-class that often. Every now and then I would. And I'm thinking about doing it with my Cleric. I'm thinking about taking a level or 2 in Fighter. I might. Kind of makes sense because he's got the glaive.
Yeah, just alone, being able to take Second Wind and getting to get Action Surge between every it's just a short rest to get those back, which is crazy. Yeah, those seem like it's worth taking at least a couple levels in Fighter once you've got your main level 5 established. Wow, that is so fast. What?
Okay,
They're already coming at us?
I'll have to consider.
I'm just now getting... Oh, man. I must suck at this game.
I know I do.
Well, insufficient Vespian gas. Fine.
I think I'll have to, I guess.
Oh my god, I can't hit buttons. Hey, you, get out of here. What are you doing? I'm trying to get into my food bag. Get out of here. Not even any food in there. And supply depots. That's what it was yelling at me for.
I guess.
Additional supply depots required.
That's fine.
Supply depots required. Yeah, I'm really not focusing as much on StarCraft. Who came up with the idea of this talk show style?
I think it was you.
Ah, damn it. Hashtag outed.
Oh, I was there before the void shard was. Oops.
Can't you just wait?
Additional supply depots required.
Don't worry, I got another supply depot coming, lady.
Combat squad ready for deployment. Not enough.
Not enough minerals. I guess I can come help with that.
Do I have an idle worker? I do. Where is he? Oh, I need to. Yeah, supplemental. I forgot all about that thing.
Yeah, me too. I'm bad at this game. People are laughing at us online, I'm sure of it. Alright,
That wouldn't be
so...
the first time.
That's true. So how give me your quick take review on how you think Goose did setting up the first campaign,
Oh, I think it was
first
great.
session.
I think he was fantastic.
Make sure you destroy all of them.
I like his DMing style. His DMing style fits well with the type of campaign I like to play, and that's always great.
Yeah.
It's different people want different things. Like some people just want to ignore the RP and make a bunch of murder hobos and go kill stuff, and that's fine if that's what you're into. If everyone else is into that, that's not really my bag. I mean, don't get me wrong, combat's fun. I enjoy it, but I also want to have like some story going on.
Sure.
Actually, I've always viewed D&D as you're writing a fantasy book together, like Lord of the Rings. You're making Lord of the Rings, but it's
Right.
like your own version of it. Ah, you did your thing. Okay.
I did. I maybe should have saved it, but you know,
Oh well, it's all good.
didn't want to depend on the A team this time.
Dun, 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 dun.
And let's get a few more of these going. Oh god, I haven't queued any upgrades yet. Ah, I'm so bad. You know I'm bad. I'm bad. Really, really bad.
Truly awful.
Not enough minerals.
I have no idea what I'm supposed to build with him when it comes to army. I'm level 14 and I still don't have a clue. More SEVs, right? Like that's just
Oh,
a
wow.
whole army of SEVs. It seems like it'd be good for Swan.
We got some cloaked enemies hiding around.
Oh, I'm gonna die.
Our
Detectives.
allies are being
Yep, I'm gonna die. That was a
Oh,
mistake.
what'd you do?
No. That's fine. I forgot. I just got the thing where he gets to heal. There's a healy thingy. We're fine. I need to get rattlesnakes upgrades.
Why you do this, Grendel?
It's fine. It's fine.
Why you do this thing? Oh my gosh, my army is getting toasted.
It's fine. It's fine.
Oh jeez. Oh man, that's a big army. Cannon? That guy's name is Cannonball?
Yeah. Oh, all your stuff died.
Yeah.
Are being attacked.
Oops. It's fine.
I don't know why we had to go in 6 minutes before. Because you're Tychus, that's why.
Go core.
Hashtag go core. What are we doing here? Why aren't we doing things?
Add-on complete.
Alright. Oh, because
There we
I
go. I got healing upgrade. That's a big deal.
didn't tell you to do things. That's a good reason.
Upgrade complete.
Alright. Anything else in particular you wanted to talk about?
I'm interested to
D&D.
see how your character develops. I want to learn more about everyone's character.
Sure.
I feel like
Because you don't know any of my background, and I don't know any
No,
of your background, and that's how it should be. We should figure it out in game.
unless we've worked out that we know each other prior, but we don't. So
Yeah, the only two people that I think know each other prior are myself and Merrick. Even though I didn't know that until the middle of the first session, but still, you know. It's...
sometimes that's just how things work out.
Oh, sure. Hashtag not salty. I did think it was pretty funny, though.
I mean, it makes sense. It works out. It's a good way to get Andrew into the story.
Right. All right. I do have combat drop this time, so let's wait for this push to actually come through, so we don't take on both at the same time.
Oh, okay.
And I've got a little bit of an army here. It's not perfect, but you know, it's an
I
army.
got my 4th outlaw, so.
Those Chimeras
Oh no, lag
tried
spike.
to steal
There we go.
from us during an attack on the city.
Oh no, the pirates.
Appreciate it if you could exterminate them.
Damn pirates.
Need to move against the void shark soon. We're running out of time.
We're running out of time. We only have 4 minutes left.
Yeah, I know. This is not the kind of place you want to die in. The barriers.
Oh, that lady.
The field is blowing up with
I should. If my character dies, I'm gonna make that lady as my next character.
Okay, I'm gonna be very motivated to keep you alive now. I do also think that in general, barbarian is, you know, it's a pretty two-dimensional class overall.
It is. I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
So I kind of like the idea of multi-classing a little bit because it gives a couple of options. Like even if I just do to level 2 for paladin just so I can get holy smite, it still gives me lay on hands, so I have a pool of 10 health to be able to push out into somebody. So if you like go down, I can just quickly use an action to heal you, and you know, but not while I'm raging, but you know, like just out of combat, I can just, you know, get you back up so you can heal yourself.
Sure.
A little something.
I think it also needs to make sense in the backstory, though.
Right, yeah, and that's something Goose and I were talking about, because the way he's been talking about, you know, a lower style of magic in the world, and you know, and certain races not being allowed, and
Which I'm not salty about at all.
Sure, but I thought I don't care, but
I do. I wanted to be a changeling.
yeah, I know. I thought that he might forbid it. You know, I thought he might say, "Oh yeah, multi-classing. No, we're not going to do that." But he was totally fine with it. You know, and I'm bringing up the idea of you know, barbarian who, you know, gets a couple of levels in paladin. And he's like, "Yeah, we could make that work. I would just need to know ahead of time. Like maybe he finds religion."
Sure. Or maybe religion finds him.
Yeah, it's like a part of his backstory. You know, or
Right.
something. So yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty cool, you know, and that's always been kind of the draw for me for D&D as long as I've known about it. I never really played it, but the main appeal was that, you know, you're making your own story, you're making your own adventure. There really aren't any hard and fast rules that, you know, you have to always stick to.
Sure, absolutely. And it's always
Combat drop ready.
it's always awesome when people are on the same page about that kind of thing too, because sometimes like me and Goose, for example, had many conversations about my character before we came to a point where we were both agreeable on what he would be. I originally wanted to make a changeling. He said that there wouldn't be any changelings in the world, and that it wouldn't fit the narrative, which makes sense. He's trying to build a narrative. He's trying to set the foundation for the story.
Right.
And it doesn't make sense to have a Jedi in Lord of the Rings. And that's a bit more of a stretch, but in his world, it doesn't make sense for there to be a changeling, and it would make things more difficult for him for honestly not that much gain for me. I'm still getting to play a character that I enjoy, a character that I'm going to fall in love with, and
You ready to go?
that's going to be great. But what's that? Oh, we're going to do the thing.
You ready to go in?
Yeah, sure. Let's
Okay,
do it.
fine. Let's deal
I'll
with
get that. I'll get that, and I can meta drop over to you.
All right.
Concentrated beam online.
I have all my stuff that just came online. Whoa. Okay, I went up the wrong way. That's my bad. You can't go up and around. You gotta go down and around. That's good to know.
I'm not even going to use my meta drop then. I'm almost there.
Yeah,
Oh, your science vessels are getting shot, though.
they'll be fine.
That's all dead.
Yeah, I was just saying, some stuff just came online for me.
Just a few things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's going to be really fun, and I'm really excited to see how things develop. And,
Yeah.
I think it'll just get better and better.
Agreed. And I really just, I want it to be Tuesday so we can play again.
Absolutely.
I'm kind of frustrated that it's not Tuesday already.
I'm also going to take a little bit of a blame for creating the D&D monster that you are now. I think
Yeah.
showing you Critical Role had more than a little bit to do with that.
Yes. For sure. You know, and see, my problem is I can't stop obsessing over stuff that's not even gonna happen for like, you know,
Ever.
2, 3, 4 months, maybe never, depending on, you know, how quickly Goose wants to level us and how long we want to play the campaign.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I'll want to play the campaign until level 20, so, you know, like, I'm in, but I understand that, you know, maybe not everybody wants to play that long, or will, you know, stuff will come up.
I mean, I'll probably, if I'm able to, I'll be down to play that long. I love playing D&D or any pen and paper.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But a guy can hope.
Indeed.
Let's see.
Our allies are being attacked.
And people are finding out now exactly how inefficient, or how I'm not very efficient at playing StarCraft.
Well, that's kind of why I picked Tychus. You don't have to be efficient with Tychus.
Oh, well, there you go. Oh, God. Their army is winning.
That's fine. You're fine. Yeah, they're all dead.
Research
That's true. We killed. We did it, boys.
Concentrated beam ready.
Well, my concentrated beam is ready, but I don't think it'll be very effective on this. I'll save it for the final
Yeah,
push.
it's already dead anyway.
Above core hall? Not on my watch.
Alright, let's get everybody going to that direction.
Combat drop ready for deployment.
I got combat drop ready, and I'll have my pulse cannon in a minute. Doo-doo. Ah, Lampico. Yeah, poor Lampico. He's sad because I'm playing StarCraft without him.
Oh, is he?
By the way, Lampico, very, very good at StarCraft.
I believe that. I
Yeah.
am very, very, very mediocre. That's being kind of generous.
Yeah, I think I'm not very good, but he was straight up carrying me through hard mode matches as level 1 characters of multiple varieties because he basically refused to play any one more than one time. And I was like, well, that's not really how progression goes for StarCraft co-op, but hey, you do your thing, man.
He's like, I don't care. I don't need progression to win.
He really doesn't though. Like that's totally legit.
Trust me.
Oh, we're winning though. We're doing all right.
Oh yeah.
So, what are you looking forward to specifically in this next session? What do you want to see happen?
I want. I'm not sure I can tell you exactly what I want because I feel like it will.
Crumbles into dust. Well done, commanders.
Reveal
Mess
too
with
much about
ReGen.
your backstory? All right, that's fair.
No, it won't reveal too much about the backstory necessarily. I'm gonna want to see people's like genuine reactions from things,
Aha.
and that's not to say that there's gonna be any big reveal or anything like that. But my character I haven't finished this backstory yet,
Yeah.
but I've got a pretty good idea of where I'm going with it, and he's gonna be probably a very yin and yang individual in a lot of ways.
That makes sense.
And I think you saw a little bit of that in the first session we had. When he was chasing those bandits down, it was no mercy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when he was basically discussing the terms of a surrender, more or less, he was willing to abide by that, and he kind of wasn't happy about the situation. But if the bandits had kept their word better and not abducted people, he probably wouldn't have even seen fit to chase after them.
Yeah. If they had just taken that safer deal that you had offered them.
Right.
Yeah, and
If
that
they
was
hadn't-
something I was going to comment on, actually. It slipped my mind, is that you're sitting there at the beginning of this campaign. You're probably, maybe not the most experienced, because probably Jeremy Emmon is the most experienced D&D player, maybe. But certainly, like, I'm brand new, Andrew's brand new, and you're experienced. And Goose has just told us about how not all of these are going to be situations where you're going to need to fight. Some of these you're going to have to be patient and wait. And he throws you into that situation immediately when your character gets introduced. And yeah, I think that was well crafted. That was him modeling his point to someone who would get the point on the other side. 1v12, you can't win this fight. and you played it how
Not
you
at
were
level
supposed to. Not at level 2.
give me like level 8, and I'll fuck all those guys up. But like level 2, no.
Yeah, and I think he did a great job of modeling that intent that he had in that moment for it, which I think was really good.
One thing that that I kind of really appreciated too is he pointed out the kind of I don't know, satchels. They weren't really satchels, but kind of the bag type things that 3 of the guys had on.
Right.
And he pointed that out more than once. And when a DM points stuff out like that to you, then it's something that you kind of want to focus in on, pay attention to.
Sure.
And I wasn't sure what that was gonna be. Like I genuinely had no idea. And then when it's the caltrops, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, I thought these guys were gonna stay and fight, but no, of course they're gonna run. Why would they stay and fight? They got the thing they were after.
Right.
And that was really cool to see, because I've had DMs in the past that would have been like, these guys are going to sacrifice themselves to slow down you down so that the bandit leader can get away. That's not what bandits do. Like, bandits are in it for themselves. They're in it to make money. They're forming a group just because it makes it more likely for them to make money. They're not going to try to throw their lives away for it, though they did.
Well, I mean, they actually executed their plan perfectly. They just didn't expect for us to chase them down. You know, I think they got caught unawares in the woods, thinking that they'd, maybe be able to take out anybody that came upon them. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like that was very well crafted. That was probably my favorite thing about the first session, was that, he introduces all the characters, he brings us together in an impactful way, but he also kind of modeled, I think, how he's going to run a lot of the session, which is that there are going to be clear opportunities to fight where you can win, such as sneaking up on the the bandits while they're in the woods and they're camping and they're split a little bit, but chasing them down through these caltrops, taking them on 1v12 before the rest of the group got there. Like, he was also making it pretty clear, those options, when it's time to RP, it's time to try to have a diplomatic approach to the game, and not everything's going to be a fight fest.
Well, and sometimes fighting is not the best option.
Right.
Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's the only option. But I don't know how many people who were watching our stream also watch Critical Role, and those guys, I idolize those guys. Those guys, the way they play the game is so cool to watch. It's so fun.
Yeah,
But
like, they only fight if they really have to. You can tell.
for the most part. But
Sure.
when Matt Mercer plops down an ancient white dragon, and they're level 8, 9, 10?
Yeah, they were 9 at the time. Yeah.
That is not a time to be fighting.
No.
If you fight that, you're all dead. We're all new characters.
Right, and that makes a lot of sense. They did make it out. Nobody died. Incredible, which is something that only, I think, really skilled and experienced D&D players are going to be able to pull off in the first place. So I like
need some luck as well.
Yeah, I like that he throws those hurdles up for them to jump over, because he knows his squad can handle it. But also, it's really interesting that their approach to things, especially like when you're talking about like in Nicodranus, they had an entire like game day worth of time where they were trying to avoid fighting anything, but they kind of fell into bad roles in the diplomatic approach, so they ended up having to kill people when they didn't really want to,
Right.
And so you can tell their first approach is to not fight, but to handle things diplomatically, and that's a good model, I think, for D&D players to try to approach, because especially when you're getting XP based on advancing the story, which is definitely how Matt Mercer does it, and I think that's how Goose is doing it as well. It's not just XP based on how many things do you kill, because if that's what's driving your XP, that's going to kind of drive down your incentive to try to settle things amicably, and almost motivates you to try and find any excuse you can to kill something and get XP from it.
It creates murder hobos. That's
Right.
What that does. It creates murder hobos.
Right. So I like that model of the gameplay, and that's what I'm hoping to get out of this experience is a well-rounded, full leveling process.
Everything that first game indicated to me is that that's exactly what it's going to be.
Sure.
And yeah, that like I remember when I was talking to the bandit leader, I was like, "Oh, I'm getting good persuasion rolls. This is good. This is good. Maybe he'll just take this stuff and he'll leave." And that's what it looked like. And then he took the people, and I was like, "Oh, now he's got to die."
Right. And that's still good. It's still good on Goose for one of the things that was described in one of the guides that he posted was like it kind of like it mentioned how level 20, like natural 20s, they can do pretty incredible things. They can give you really cool advantages in the game, but they can't give you the impossible, right? You can't.
Sure.
You can't, try and do a 20 charisma roll to the king and have him give you his kingdom. It's not going to do the impossible. And that bandit, that would make sense. He finds a couple of noblemen in the group. He's going to want to kidnap and ransom those. And it doesn't matter how many natural 20s you roll. That's his nature. And getting him to, go against his nature and what he would just naturally do under any circumstance. A natural 20 maybe shouldn't be able to persuade him against that, but maybe if you had a high persuasion bonus and you rolled something like a 30, maybe that could have convinced him. But that it's up to Goose, and he gave you a really good motivation to advance the story in the way he had obviously set it up for, which was that he wanted to motivate you to chase him down and kill them. Otherwise, why would he have set up? Well, sure, but why would he have set up the whole whole scenario in the woods if that's not the direction he was trying to push us into? So he did a good job of motivating, setting it up so that your character would be motivated to want to go kill them and get those people back.
Well, he could have also set up multiple different scenarios. Like it could have been if I were playing another character I had thought of potentially making. That character might have reacted with, "Well, that sucks. Okay, I'm leaving," and Lord, what's his face? The
Lord
Joffrey.
Yeah, Sir Joffrey the Knight.
If he'd been like, "What? You're not gonna stay and help?" My character would have been like, "Are you paying me?" And that's obviously not the character that I'm playing right now, but it's a character I thought of. It's a character I've played before. It's a pretty fun character to play. But it's also a character that can become pretty boring, pretty one-dimensional, pretty quick. So you've got to try to add some sort of dynamic to him, I feel like. But that's all up to personal preference too. Maybe it's playing the trope can be fun.
Right.
So.
All right.
But
so
anyway, man.
I wanted to ask you one thing about these build orders and your opinion on it. If I do end up going into fighter down the road and I get to choose a fighting stance, I've got dueling, where if I'm wielding a one-hander and then not using another one-handed item, so it would be my shield, and it gives +2 to my attack rolls. So essentially, I'm doing a D8 +2 plus all of my other bonuses, or for two-handed weapons, taking the stance where I get to reroll 1s and 2s automatically. Which one do you think is better out of those two? Because obviously the first one's going to come with a +2 AC from getting to keep my shield, which I wouldn't have with the ladder.
So, in my opinion, if you're playing a barbarian and you are having an 18 strength at level 2, like you do, which will probably later become a 20,
yeah,
you should be using a two-handed. That is my opinion.
Okay.
That's an opinion. So your AC as a barbarian is never going to get as high as a fighter's does. because a fighter is going to be in full plate,
Right.
and that's kind of the fighter's jam. You get to reduce damage, and you get a really big health pool, so you can take a big hit, but you're gonna get hit. And when you get hit by things that are magical, you don't get to reduce that unless I think you take some feats later. You might be able to.
Yeah, there is like a magical resistance feat, but
Right. Um, and if you kill the thing, it can't do any more damage to you. So by in a twisted sense of logic, you're making your health bar bigger if you kill things faster.
yeah, and I think the two-hander is nice also because it's going to give me a bigger pool of dice to roll for when I do hit those crits, especially if I'm like branching off into fighter, so that I can have more crits to hit with that. Rolling 3d12s is a lot more attractive than rolling 3d8s and then adding 2 to the total damage.
Right. I
And
mean,
then
it,
also
it
getting
takes
to
your
re-roll
ceiling.
any 1s or 2s that I get out of that whole deal.
Your ceiling is overall higher. Your floor is slightly lower, but not by much, especially with getting to reroll 1s and 2s.
Right. And then that also kind of takes away the need to go with the Savage Attacker feat to try to once per turn re-roll like a bad damage roll, because if I'm re-rolling 1s and 2s, the odds are that I'm never going to really get a whole lot out of that feat anyway.
The worst you get is 3 3s. That's 9.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you only get to re-roll them once, so they could theoretically come up again as a 1 or 2, but still, like, the odds of that are not high. That won't happen a whole lot.
The odds of that are like rolling 5 every time on a d20.
I know, right? What are the odds? That would never happen to anyone ever. So yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited. This is it's a really cool game. I probably should stop trying to plan 8 moves ahead, but I can't help myself. That's kind of been my experience so far. But
outside of game night, absolutely go wild, have fun, go crazy with it. It's good to know where you're planning to direct your character on game night. Just be sure you're in the moment. That's what it's really about.
nice, I like it. Yeah, I really, it's fitting. Again, I don't want to reveal too much about my character, but um, one of the key traits that he's got is that he's constantly looking forward eagerly, and that fits perfectly with my experience so far with D&D. So I don't think it'll be too hard to get into that RP mode.
Oh no, I always think it's best to put some of yourself into your character.
Yeah, it makes it a little
If-
easier to step into those shoes.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it makes it easier to get excited about your character too. I feel like.
Exactly. All right, Grendel. Well, thanks for coming and hanging out with me, playing a couple co-op games. That's always fun.
Absolutely, it's been a while.
And yeah, so any of you guys that are watching the VOD later, check out ReGen D&D Tuesdays, 6 to 10 p.m. PDT, Pacific Standard Time. So come check out our episode number 2 coming up this coming Tuesday. Me, Grendel, Mongoose on the DM. We got Andrew playing his druid as well, and the rogue wonder himself, Eamon, aka Goose, aka Jeremy. I don't know. I'm kind of lost with what to call that, what name to call him, but we'll figure it out.
Not to be confused with Mongoose.
Yeah, the other goose. There's 2 gooses. It's a mess, but we'll figure it all out. Hopefully on Tuesday night. So I hope to see you guys there.
All right, man. Well, have a good night.
You too. And good night, everybody. We'll see you Tuesday.